Thank you all for coming here. Before I even begin, I just have to introduce my husband, because without him, none of this would be happening. I create all this stuff, but he gets it all up onto the computer and makes sure if something goes wrong, he's here. So if you see something happen, he'll come running in and fix it all.
Hello, everybody. I'm now off to the side.
Okay, and we're going to begin. And thank you all so much for being here. That's how I always begin, just to thank the teachers. My husband's a retired physics teacher. I taught third grade and then became a counselor, and here we are. And we own for over 40 years, a tutoring and test prep company here up in Westchester and Putnam. And so we've been working with children for one-to-one in groups and actually trying to see how do they learn. Okay, what is it that makes one child learn and not the other one? Okay, so again, thank you for taking out the time. It's dinner time and you all, I'm sure, are busy or hungry and tired. And it's very tiring being a teacher. Trust me, I know it. Parents don't always understand. Some people don't understand what a tough job it is. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Okay, next. Before we begin talking about all the games and why I created all these games, that is not what my goal in life. I never even thought of that. We put together a learn method in our company. We follow this in every workshop I do. I always begin with going through the learn method. It takes like 5 minutes, because if this is not in place, no matter what game you use and what game these children are going to play, it's not going to work. We came up with Learn years ago. It's LEARN. It's an acronym. You'll see I love acronyms. And the L is find the level the child is at. And I'm going to go through it a little bit, because you can't begin working with a child with any game unless you know exactly where that child is. And then engage. We always talk about engaging them with the lesson. This engage, we talk about engaging them in the school environment, because you have to create a classroom that's conducive to learning. And that means the child feels relaxed emotionally and socially. And you're all going, oh, social emotional learning. I've been doing this since the 1960s. Social emotional learning, the classroom environment has to be conducive to learning, and that's creating a healthy social and emotional environment. All the things that all the schools are buying now, that's something else. I have a whole program that we have, but the most important thing is you, the teacher. You're more critical than you realize. You're pretty important. Okay, then we go to activate. Those are your lessons. Rehearse is the practice, and N was the neural change. Did the child learn? So let's begin with level. Very quickly, before we start any games, you can find out the level the child is at with decoding, fluency, by going, we give it away free. Go to our website, stronglearning.com, click along that ribbon where it says free resources, and there's a phonics assessment right there, and you'll know whether you have to play the games, stressing the vowels, the consonants, the C and G rule, whatever it is. You have to know what the child needs. Okay, the next thing is right when you're there, download the math assessment. You'll see again exactly where the child is. There are so many children that come to us, and the parents paying all this money for tutoring, and because they can't do the math and they're in 6th grade, 7th grade, they don't know the times tables. It's as simple as that. You can't do division, you can't do fractions, you can't do decimals. You have to know the multiplication facts. You'll know immediately, and we've got all these games so they all can learn it. So that's your L, learn, that's your level. Now remember E, engage the child. The teachers, it's so important. I did my doctoral dissertation on the antecedents of self-esteem in children. How do children have high self-esteem and some do not? it's an interesting thing. It's amazing. Yes, if they're the best baseball player, but doesn't mean they're going to have high self-esteem. It's the same for the children as it is for you and me. And they get their feeling of self-worth, how they perceive, it's a perception. Their significant others perceive them. It's a perception. Picture if we walk into a room and we think everyone thinks we're great, we're going to feel great. We're going to walk into a room where we think everybody has on black shoes and we're wearing brown. We're not going to feel so good. We're going to stand there and then you cringe. You don't feel good. The feeling of self-esteem plummets. The children's self-esteem comes number one, how they perceive mommy and daddy perceive them. Mommy and daddy. Number two, guess who it is? You. It's the teachers, especially those little kindergarten, first grade, second. My teacher likes me. My teacher thinks I can do it. If they feel the teacher doesn't, and it's a perception, and that so many parents, they'll be sitting in front of me and they go, we always tell you you're great. And because of the book we wrote, my husband and I wrote a book, Why Bad Grades Happen to Good Kids. And the kids will always say, I am good. And the parents will say, we've never said you're not. Yes, you do. You don't think it. You think I'm stupid. You think I'm it's a perception. So when we say E in learn, get their level, engage them emotionally so they know that you care about them. You're on their side. You're their ally, not their adversary. Teachers saying things, that was a good try. I'm proud to be your teacher. I always know you could do it. These such important things. And I want you to think right now about yourself. Did teacher ever compliment you? Think back. Was there a teacher ever that sarcastic or insulted or embarrassed you? Those things never go away. So I always begin every single talk. We're going to talk about games now, but I always have to begin with find their level, otherwise, and make sure your class is conducive to learning. It's created by you. Obviously, all of you are doing this, otherwise you wouldn't be here tonight. You do care. Okay, next, LEA, activate. The person who activates the students is the teacher. That's your lesson. And I'm going to give you all these lessons, 36 and more different games to play. And activate goes with R, rehearse. If you teach and they don't practice and practice and practice, some kids need more practice, some don't need as much. There's not going to be a change in the neurons in the brain. They have to practice. And if you say to a child, but you have to practice. And that I work with so many dyslexic little kids, and the parent will say, yeah, but you have to go home and practice because you're the one struggling. Oh my God, that's the worst thing. I mean, what child wants to go home and practice? What adult? Playing games? You're playing it over and over and over again. They don't even know it. They're practicing. That's why I started using games. I actually started years and years and years ago because I was working with a lot of dyslexic children, a lot of dysgraphic children. And one little boy came in, I'll never forget, and he stood at the door of my office with his mom. And he said to me, he was 7, don't ask me to read because I'm not going to. If you have a book in there, I'm not coming in. And he was only 7. He had severe dyslexia. He had been through so much. It was before 1990, before we learned from the Shawitzes what was going on, way before Wilson and PAF and all our programs. These poor little kids, they need the practice desperately, but they're not going to do it. So I said to him, do you mind if we just play games? And I grabbed my index cards and my construction paper. And he goes, oh, we're going to play games? Okay. And he came in, sat down. And when he left, I said, did we do any reading or writing? He goes, no. And I realized then, there's our answer for the practice. Okay, now, here we go. Games, I know what I called games and other activities, poems, plays. Here we go. I don't know how many of you actually downloaded what I sent. It's like a 50-page book. and it's games and activities children love for K through 5. And if you did not download it, don't worry about it, because what we did here, we put up the whole book. We're going to go page by page here. Here's our table of contents, which I'm not going to go through now. And I'm going to begin right here. If you have the books in front of you, on page 3, why play games? I've done so much research on this, and the benefits are amazing. A card and board games, because I'll talk about video games later, but card and board games, what they have found, number one, unlimited, purposeful, remember I said find out their level, find out what they need to learn, purposeful, playful practice of whatever the child needs. Number 2, they learn that practice makes perfect because they're playing over and over and over again. 3, children develop patience while waiting their turn. 4, children learn good sportsmanship. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. It's been very interesting watching the kids, because I don't want to say, but I cheat a lot so that they win, because I want them to keep playing. And they never, no one, I've been with 12, 14-year-olds, they've never noticed I'm cheating, but they feel bad. And they'll say to me, no, here's my card. You just take it. No, it's your point. You just take it. It's amazing what happens to these children who are almost belligerent. They're angry. They can't read. They are so precious, no matter what age. It gives them confidence because the rules are the same for every player. I've had children come in. I like the parents being part of our sessions. I like the grandparents. And the children get up and they're running over to help grandma and grandpa. Everyone's on the same level. And they feel like such big shots. And they help. And one grandpa was a retired special ed teacher. And he kept saying, I truly don't get this. What am I doing? And this little boy was over there helping him. He kept saying, Grandpa, you can win, you'll see. And it was just, and it's not just him. We've seen this over the years. The next thing, the empathy. They laugh with a friend if they do something quirky. 7, children have opportunities to plan, strategize, and evaluate. I'll never forget this one little girl. She was 6, absolutely not reading. I tested her. She did not have dyslexia. She had over average intelligence. Why wasn't she reading? Going to one of the top schools in this area. I think she didn't fit with the program. I'm not going to mention which program, but I think that was part of the problem. But we were playing games, and at one point, her mom asked, because the mom was playing too, the mom asked for a particular card, and we all knew she had it. She said, no, don't have it. We're sitting, and the mom says, yeah, but the winner is the first to actually get rid of their cards. So give it. She said, I know what I'm doing. And then it was her turn. She asked for the card. So the mom had to give it to her. She says, you see, now that's in my pile of cards. So I laughed. I said, this one, she's 6 years old. She was strategizing. She knew exactly. She had an opportunity to think this through. She actually started reading because she just loved to play the games. 8, interesting, children's interpersonal skills develop. Video games have their place, the computer's fine, but they can never replace playing cards and board games and playing and discussing it with friends. If you think of growing up and you were playing outside with all the friends and you're playing tag or hide and go seek and you're all discussing, you're going to go first, I'm going to go second. Those are wonderful things for children to learn. And they don't have that. They're taught so much, do this, do this, do this. It's called free play. It's one of the best things for the brain and child development. Okay, now on page 3, we say how to make your own card decks. At the end, you're going to see my husband and I, we've now made about, over 100 different titles and decks of cards for a million different games. And you can do this yourself. This is how I began. And what we did, you'll see page 4, you just print it up, cut it out, and you've got all your cards. You make them up. And there's the directions right there. And so you can make your own cards. So as I go through and I show you different games, and if it's a card game, whether you have our deck of cards or you can make your own, whatever you want to do. So here's how you make it. You have it right there on page 4. Now we're going to begin with learning just reading. I'm going to go through 12 games that I've created over the years that are just so successful, and I'm just going to share them with you. What I want you to do, though, look up in the right corner of page 6, and it's on every single game. As we go through this, you're going to see the grades. You can use this sing along with any grade, but it's really for those little ones. They're the ones that love it. I've walked into classrooms and the teachers are using it and they're rolling around their little mats on the floor. But they're part of the game. This kindergarten, it's great with even little 5-year-olds. And group size, it could be one child, it could be a whole class, any size. Time needed varies because some teachers every morning they do one of these games where they all sing together. And it's just the first 10 minutes. Some do 20 minutes. It's up to you. Also good for this game you can use for arithmetic. Okay, and it'll tell you right on top. And the activity type, this one is a sing-along. And we're going to do it together. It goes to the tune of Old MacDonald's Farm. And I did one at school. I learned and you can then put in anything you want. You can do vowels, my words, my letters, my numbers, whatever you want. This one, instead of ABC, I began in the middle. When at school, I learned my letters, H, I, J, and K. And then the teacher holds this up, just like I'm doing this, and I say, with an. And everybody, the whole class goes, H, H here, and J, J there, here, K, therein, I, everywhere, and H, H. And you do this, usually you begin with the little ones who are first learning the alphabet. If they can't remember the A, you go over and over again with an A here and an A there, here and. So it's the repetition, the repetition, the repetition. You can do it with short vowels. When at school, I learned my vowels, A, E, I, O, U. By the way, for anyone who's teaching the children vowels, that's one of the biggest things they don't know when they come in with the reading. Just say to them, I owe you money. They all know that. Oh, I know that. I owe you. And just put an AE in front of it. So within a second, I'll say to them, what are your vowels? They'll go, I owe you. AE, I owe you. They're done. You don't have to do anything else. And then you play this game, and let's say you're doing it for the sounds with an here and add, and you just continue. You can do it with, look at the bottom left, CVC words, and you have the cards. So if you have any type of card decks at home, or if you're using ours, whatever, you just hold it up and the children shout out the words. And they love it. Like I'm going H, I, and I'm going, and they love that because they just think that's the greatest thing because I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, that happens to be a great way to start K through 2, whatever they're learning at that moment. Okay, and then if you just keep going faster and faster, and they just end up giggling, but they learn it because of the repetition. Paper chains, we're on number 7. Okay, paper chains, you all know how much as kids you loved it. Grades K through 3, you can definitely go over that, over K through 3. But for that age group, and you can have competitions between different groups. Let's say you're writing, because you see it says time needed varies, also good for writing, because what you do is before you glue your paper chains together, you write. You see the top one is just the alphabet. They may just do ABC and the next day do DEF. And they keep making the chains. They may be doing the CVC words, top, cup, bat, you see them. Then we have sentences. I have idioms the kids have put on, this vocabulary. And you can have kids against other kids, for the competition, because whoever has the longest paper chain, you can have groups that are always working. One classroom I went into, they had paper chains, the entire room, across the ceiling, down the walls. The room was gorgeous, and it just looked so happy and so much fun, all from paper chains. Why do the kids learn? They're focused, they're thinking. So many things we do, they're just not thinking, they don't stay focused. Let's go on to page 8. Lots of words. Many of you have done this before. And you take a word, go by the seasons. Like when the fall starts, you could do the word September, you can do the word autumn, you can do a few words. They take those letters and they make up as many words as they can think of. Again, set it up as competition, as a game. And this is good. I mean, I have it under lots of words. I have it in R3, reading, third lesson. But you see, I say also good for writing. They're writing. Once they're writing, they're learning. They're learning to read if they can actually write. So have them writing and writing. You give them lists of words. Just give them give them one word though at the beginning. The autumn, begin with October, do Lee, and then they can come through with all the words. Okay. You be as creative as you can. I'm going to go quickly because we have 36 games to get through. Number 4, the reading race. This is an interesting game because I do this almost with every single child. They sit down, and whatever you get the level, you know what they need, get your cards out. Takes about 15 minutes. Great also for arithmetic. On the times table, the addition facts. And you put down, you see reading race point chart. They know the points and they get it in 5 seconds. And let's say here I'm doing the short vowels and with the consonant blends and digraphs, flag. And I usually begin with just 3 words, spot, nest, okay? I put that down in front of them and I say, you ready? And I have a timer. And they say to me, can I practice? No, I want to practice first. Of course, practice. That's the goal. The goal, I don't care if they get them wrong. I want them to learn it. I want them to practice. I go, sure, tell me when you're ready. And they go, nest, spot, flag, nest, spot. I'm ready. I go, okay. I set the timer and they go, nest, spot, flag. I go, oh, I didn't even set the timer. You're less than a second. They just feel like God. And then we start doing, I said, should we put 4 words? And they'll say, yes, put 5. I can even do 5. Okay, that is a gem. And each time they say, but I want to practice. It's only, the group size is only the teacher and 1 child. So if you see only 1 child at a time, if you're tutoring, if you have a reading group, it's now whether they can play against each other, you can try that, but it just works well, the 1-to-1. That's the reading race. The next one is the war. Do you remember as child, just remember playing the game war? You put 1, 2, 3, and you turn over the last cards. And we play war. The group size is just 2 players. Now, I used here my long vowel, the VCE words. And of course, you'll be making your own cards if you want, whatever you have. And also we sell decks of cards if you need, just you'll see at the end. Our VCE game, we have the match is the CVC with the VCE, kit and kite, dime and dim, okay, rid and ride. So you put out 3 cards, turn the last one over. If it was kit and I put kit and the child puts down kite, that's a match. Do you remember with war? And then you got to put 3 more out. 1, 2, 3. Turn it over. Now let's say it came out dime and rid. I put down dime. The little child puts down rid. Alphabetically, rid is higher. R is higher than D. That child will get all the cards. to put in their pile. And the end of the game is when one of the people doesn't have any more cards left. And as I said, I cheat a lot. And so with this game, they usually always win. And they're just thrilled. All the directions are all here. Everything is we gave everybody all the directions. And I have to tell you, if you ever get confused, you're not sure, call me up. Just my phone number is there. You have it at the end of it. It's right in the book. Call me up, email me, and I'll just walk through it with you again. But all the directions are here. Also, a great game, War, with the times tables. Your match would be 4 times 12, 4 times 3, and the other match is 12. You get a match. And it's good for both games. It's better for your, I said here, 2 through 5 grades. Little ones are just too small. But the 5th graders, 4th and 5th graders love this particular game. And you can play, the students can play with together, but they have to be in pairs. Number 6, lineup. This is, all these pictures, by the way, are all my students from over the years. These are kids playing these games. Lineup, K through 5, could be any grade. And what it is, you have 2 different teams. And the ages don't matter depending on what it is. And if you're just learning the same thing. Also good for learning how to read and also good for math. What happens is when you say go, let's say it's the little ones, they have to line up the alphabet, A through, and they're working as teams. And it's interesting watching them because, and I don't know, I can't see everyone that's here today, but the girls seem to be more organized than the guys. The little boys stand and they can't quite get it together. The little girls go, here, you take these 5, I'm going to take these 5, you take these, and they get it together somehow. And when I go, they have to line it up. It could be, depending on whatever you're trying to teach them, it has to be something that's in sequential order. The alphabet, the sound, the numbers. I've done this with kids with the times tables even, and they have to put it, you'll read this. I don't want to spend too much time because it gets too complicated, but it's really good. And by the end, sometimes I even put music on with something that's that particular thing they're learning. And so I'll have A, B, C, D, E, and it's in the back. And and I have little kids going against each other. Okay, it's really, really cute. One little boy said to me, I just can't handle this. And it was hysterical. I said, no, then don't do it. Don't do it. And he just walked away. He says, I just can't handle the stress. Now, you see the little boy alone on page 11? He was sitting with me and we were just doing the alphabet because he just couldn't remember the sequence. So we did it with lineup. He put him down and then I say, do you want me to time you? He'd go, yes, but I'm not ready. I go, okay, I let them practice. That's what you're doing. And they go, I want to practice, fine. And then they put him in order and I'm ready. And then they put him out instantly, but they're learning. Okay, number 7, reading 7, Crazy Eights. I don't know how many people go, oh my gosh, I remember that game. Really good for CVC or controlled vowels. Excellent. Because you're playing it, everyone gets 5 cards. And there's 4 wild cards in the deck. And you turn in the pile that you put down, the draw pile, the top card is turned over. And if that top card, let's say we're doing R controlled, is car, there's your AR. Well, then the next person has to put down an AR and the next one an AR. If you don't have AR, a word with AR, park or card or one of the AR words in your hand, you have to keep picking from the deck and discarding and picking and discarding until you find it. Okay, and the kids just end up picking and picking and picking all these cards, and some are ending up with 1 million cards. Or if you get a wild card, you put it down and you go, I'm changing it to IR, and then they put down bird. So they have to stay very focused, and they have to keep remembering the sounds. So for CVC and R controlled, that Crazy Eights game is amazing because they just learn it instantly. R eighth, the eighth game, and it's A because we have a 9 square bingo, and then B is a 25 square bingo. I started doing this. Here's your bingo board. You have it right there in your game. Just take it, copy it, and make as many copies as you'll need. I've done this with a lot of people. A lot of the teachers tell me they play with the whole class. You give them a word list. Like here, the word list they're using, they're working with all those, all, old, all those combinations, those blends and digraphs. And you give them a word list, okay? And what happens is they select the word to put in the box. They're getting a blank sheet. Do you see the blank one? Begin with the 9 square and have them fill it in. And then you play bingo. And so you pick up the card and you go, who has the word ball? And they put down a marker or they put down a coin. A lot of the kids, especially with a large class, they just put an X. Okay, and whoever gets bingo first. And then you can play it with the older kids, the 25 square bingo. And here we use the ink and the ank and the ink, all those blends. You give them the list. In our card decks, we have a word list in every card deck. You can just enlarge it and give it to each child, or you just write it up and copy it. When you're done, you say, how many want to play again? Yes, they all want to play again. And they go, oh, I didn't even win with this. I want a new board. Good. They have to write it up again. So they're writing. It's fabulous for writing. It's good for arithmetic because you can put the times table here. You can, however you want to do it. But the main thing is they're writing. If they can write, they're going to learn it. They must think to process to be able to write. I had one of the most dysgraphic boys in the group I was doing, and he wouldn't even write his name in school. He wasn't handing anything in. He was so dysgraphic. He played this game. I said to him, I'm not going to look how you're spelling it. I don't care how you write it. Here's the word list. And he loved playing this game. It's bingo. Everybody likes bingo. And so you just keep writing it. And after a while, they start learning the words. And it just becomes easier for them. Okay, all this is there for you. Now we're going to number 9. This, again, download this. You have these boards. It's Card Deck Lotto. Take the card deck. It's good for K through 5, any grade. It takes any 2 to 12 players if you decide how many players, because you create as many boards as you want. And then you make up cards. Now I have let me see, this one. This one is for really little ones, the K. They're just learning, or for children, for English as a second language. It happens to be great. You take every deck that we have is made up of 48 cards. Okay. And it's 24 matches, 24 pairs. So here we have 2 sneakers, then we have 2 jackets. Okay. The Lotto, what happens, everyone gets a board. Okay. And then you hand out the 24 cards. Okay. So, and everyone fills up those 4 places on the board. Then you take your other half of deck, the other 24, the matches, and you say, okay, jacket, who has jacket? And someone's going to have it. And it goes with that. This is great for the English as a second language. We have articles of clothing, we have foods, animals, all kinds of things, all kinds of pictures for them. That's the Lotto game. Next, we're going to go the t-shirts. We actually have t-shirts that the kids write on. And we've printed them up with some of the words, but the children, what they like the most, just go and tell every parent, please send your child in with a white t-shirt. That's it. And then you give them markers. And if you're doing, see the first little boy, they're doing bit, cut, that you give them a list of words and they make up their own t-shirts. The little girl, she was doing VCE and CVC, hop and hope, kit and kite. Okay, that's this little girl, she was doing, well, he was doing the vowel digraphs, and then she was doing compound words. So and the kids love wearing them. They then wear them to school. Okay, that's a great thing to do with them. They reading plays on page 20. That's the 11th game we're going to do. Page 20 is reading plays. We have an entire reading program that we've created following Orton Gillingham. And we have plays for CVC, plays for VCE, plays for every one of the phonemes. And we made scenery that we put up. We have it actually, people can buy, it's free just to get the scenery. But they don't memorize their lines. They read their lines. And when we're practicing, give them highlighters. The kids, they love highlighters. Give them highlighters. And they highlight their parts. And they all read it. The fluency is amazing. They begin by not being sure what they're saying. It helps fluency and it helps confidence because they have to get up in front of others. And you put on plays, but reading plays. And the last thing, reading poems. Kids love to read poems. Okay, these are poems that I've used, and these are all there for you. The squirrel, the clouds, and Mr. Nobody. These are just these old classic, author unknown. Find any poems. Let them come in with a poem to read to the class. They love reading poems. They love writing them. I'm going to have that under writing soon. So that's my 12th thing. And also grades 2 to 5. And again, up in the right-hand corner of every activity, it tells you the grade, the time, what they'll be doing. So that's reading. That's the reading section. Arithmetic. Okay, I'm going fast and people may have questions, so please write them down and send them to Laura. I'm just trying to get through before, and then we'll stop for questions. The arithmetic. The first game we put together here, you downloaded in the doghouse, very similar to Lotto. But this time, instead of you give out all the cards, part of the match, but now when the teacher reads the card, if you have it, you give the card, you put it over on the side, you take it off the house. Okay, because nobody wants to end up in the doghouse. So you just take it and you put the card aside if they know they have it. Like here, the example, we had 3 plus 4, because you can do this. This is the math. You could do this with reading too. It says also good for reading. Excellent, just like Lotto. The next, memory. You all know memory. Okay, if you're working with a kindergartner, first grader, or a child who's really struggling, don't use all 24 matches. Well, actually, when you put it out with all the cards, be 48 cards. It's too much. There's 24 matches. Take it and maybe cut the whole deck in half by matches. And sometimes I've actually begun with some children who are really dyslexic or really struggling. I'll do 5 matches. We begin with 10 cards, and that's it. Sometimes I begin with just having them turned over, and then they look for the match because they can't remember. Know the level of the child. Remember, that was the first thing I talked about. Know the level. By the way, when this is something like this, sometimes you turn over. It could be a 4 plus 1, and then there's another 5. So if they turn over 2 plus 3 and 4 plus 1, that's a match. And they're starting to learn in math that there's other ways to learn about numbers. Okay, so that's one of the things with the with playing memory. Kids happen to love it. Some kids, this is the game that's the only one they want to play. And I always lose. I go, oh, and they're going, it's right there. And they're saying to me, look here. They're telling me, and I'm going, no, you're doing that just to, no, you want me to lose. No, no. And they're sitting there, because they'll work with you. And they're so happy they're playing. Next, Go Fish. Great game. That happens to be the number one game every kid likes. Every kid, they love Go Fish. And it can be, you have to begin though around second to fifth grade. The first kindergartners, first grade, they can't hold the cards. They just simply can't hold them. And so, and I know we have these, you can buy those wooden things, and that's good. If you have them and they can play, it's good. Use that also. But some of them, it's hard for them to think also for Go Fish. Direction, it's all here. You give 5 cards to each kid, anyone playing, and I put in 2 to 4 players. I've tried 5 players. It just doesn't work as well. So divide the class up into like 4 kids together. I've actually put teams with one card, hand of cards. And that's okay too when you have too many kids and not enough cards. And because they'll work together. But it's really a fun game. It's Go Fish, and they love yelling, no, Go Fish. And then it's the one who's left with no cards. My husband and I cheated a little with the directions because we want them to keep practicing, and we don't want, otherwise we're gone forever. What we did was the directions, the winner is the one who's left with no cards. So when the other person says, do you have, okay, the word flag, and the kid will go, yes, and it gives it to them. They're losing their cards, which is good. I say, it's good. You want to get rid of your cards. We saw when we first did this, no one would give in. It could go on forever. So now we have it where they have to give up the card. That little girl I told you about at the beginning with her mother, the mother said, I know you have sun. You just showed it before. You asked me if I had it. She says, I know, but I'm going to ask you because then I'm going to get your card. She was still going to lose her card, and she realized it because you take the pair and you put it down on the side. First one, the winner, is the one without cards. Okay, again, everything's here, all the directions. If you get confused, call me. A4, gin rummy. Literally, I had a group of boys. It was a dyslexic group of kids that would meet with in my office every Saturday morning. We'd have bagels and cream cheese. And then we'd talk about what it's like being dyslexic, and then we would play games. It was a group of 4 boys that came early because they were learning the times table, but I taught them how to play gin rummy. They had to get, but the only way they could actually win in our gin rummy was to have 6 cards, and they had to have 3 pairs. They had the parents bring them in early so they could sit and play gin rummy. It's great, fabulous game, gin rummy, and the Go Fish for reading, math and reading, the times tables, the addition facts, and then all your phonemes. They're just super games. Showdown, page 29. Fabulous game. We created this game almost like lineup, but you have your 2 teams. The teacher will say, give them a word, and it'll say, first team to find the word, and just say clock. First one to find clock. And they're all scrambling. It's an interesting thing watching how they play the games. Very interesting. Okay, Showdown is a lot of fun. A lot of competition, teamwork, and they have to focus to play and to win. Number 6 in math. I did this years ago. We have it in cards, but I took, all our workbooks, there's like 100 little addition facts, without regrouping, let's say, or whatever, on the one page. I couldn't ask a little kid to sit and do that. Okay, they wouldn't stay focused. They're just sitting and they're just writing. I cut them into little pieces. I put them upside down, scrambled them on the table, and I said, I'll pick one, you pick one. And let's both add and see what we both got. Whoever has the higher number gets the point. And we'll keep score. I realized after a while, I'd say to them, I gotta go put some stuff away in the room. Can you pick mine and yours? And they go, okay, yeah. I'd come back. It could be 5 minutes would go by, 10 minutes. I'd say, you ready? No, they were adding. I've done this with so many kids. They'd be adding up the numbers on all of them, and they'd be lining up all the ones on their pile that had the higher numbers. The sums were higher. And then they'd give me the other pile and I'd sit down. It was, and the game, I've done this with so many kids. They love it. And do they know they're practicing and practicing and practicing? Well, they're staying focused and they're thinking. So that is just a fun game, addition scramble. Treasure hunt. Also, kids love it. You take your deck, you take your 48 cards divided into two piles, 24, 24. You take one, you have two teams, you could have four teams, whatever it is, how many cards. And you have in the front of this book, make up as many card things as you want. You take one deck, and let's say you're doing CVC words. You put out all 24 words on the table. Each team finds a place in the room to put out their words. Then you hide just one set of 24 words, the other part of the match, around the room. And you say, ready, go. And whoever finds the match runs up to their part of the table where their group is, where their group of words are, and they put it on top. I'm saying words. This is treasure hunt. You can do it with math, obviously. I've done it with both, and the reading, it really works well also with the reading. Number 8, page 32. Some children, I guess most of you would know someone, or more than one, they just can't remember those times tables, and the teachers give them math a minute. Okay, and they have to come in and they have to do those math things every single day. Some of the kids get so anxious and nervous because it's so hard for them to remember it. And on top of it, they're nervous now. These are just fun things to do. They're little riddles and jingles. I made up of, like, for the 4 times table. I'm not going to spend time now because we just don't have enough time. I made up these for the 4s. They can make up whatever they want. They draw pictures. And because they're drawing the picture, they're making up the jingle, they usually remember it. It helps them remember them. Here's for the 4, page 33 is for the 6 times table. If we go to page 34, 7 and 8. Now there's a lot of you must remember from going to school, 8 and 8 went to the store to buy Nintendo 64. Okay, that was one from years and years and years ago. I'm just checking out how much time we have left. Okay, now on page 35, totally different. This has to do with measurement. And that also grades 3 through 5. And you give them rulers and they go on a scavenger hunt around the room. Okay, then we have more advanced that you have to have it to the 1/2 inch. And then you can even try metric. And this is where you have teams, group competition, and they have to find things, and it's a scavenger hunt. But it's not find the item, it's finding things, these sizes. Number 10. You probably know yourself working with the little ones. They love if you say to them, do you want to count? Do you want to add like in the hundreds? Yeah. Thousands. Wow. Billions. So I do trillions. and you give them something like this. You could just do one at a time. Just take the top one, 135 trillion, 436 billion, and you just write, and they do the whole thing. And it's as if they had individual pieces of paper or on a sheet of paper sitting and doing this. But because they're thinking they're doing this in the trillions, they sit there and they do them. Can I do another one? And I want to go from this side of the paper to the other side, and they just love it. And the parents would come to pick them up, and they would just go, look what I did. And I actually added things in trillions. Okay, and it's just helping them do the repetition, and they need that, because if they don't have the addition, they're going to have problems with the subtraction, then the multiplication. They've got to get these basic facts. Next, I did not do any regrouping in these. So I did actually participants, I'm saying grades 1 and 2. I didn't, and now I know they introduced regrouping, but this is for those kids that need that practice. And it also helps them with writing. Obviously not reading, but writing. They actually have to write the numbers. Okay, let's go on to page 37. 3 times table. Now, maybe a lot of you know this already, but if you sing the song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat, all you have to do, you just hold up your hands, and you hold your hands, and just as if you're reading, your palms facing you, and you sing, and you do 3. That would be 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. But you do it to row, row, row your boat. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. I swear, the kids, we do this, by the time they leave, within 15 minutes, 20 minutes, they leave and they're telling the parents, listen, I know the times table. 3, 6, 9, 12. They know it. And so many teachers will say, yeah, but I'm trying to get them not to use their fingers. Why? They're with them all the time. They actually did research on kids who learned how to add and subtract using their fingers. They did better in math in the upper grades than the kids who were told don't use your fingers. Okay? You want it eventually to become automatic. And I've done this where I'll be working with a kid in 8th grade, 9th grade, and they have to do something with multiplication. And they've been with me all these years, and they'll see a 3 and they'll go 3, 6, 9, 27. They remember it, and it just becomes automatic. That's that one. And that's just the last thing I have is the 9 times table trick. And I don't know how many of you have done this. Again, hold your hands up, palms facing your hands. Okay, have the palms facing you. And as if you're reading, going across from left to right. Again, grades 3 through 5. The little ones aren't doing multiplication yet. So grades 3 through 5, right through high school, if they're still struggling. Let's say we're going to do 9 times 3. You start with your thumb, 1, 2, 3. Put that finger down, because we're doing 9 times 3. And everything to the left of it, you count by 10s. Everything to the right of it, you count by 1s. So 9 times 3, 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 27. 9 times 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, everything to the left, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 54. There's 9 times 6. Why it works, I have no idea, but it works, and it's amazing. And the kids, they learn the 9 times table immediately. Now the writing games, cross sticks. I don't know if you've done these before. They love them. You take your name. I had a boy since he was in 6th. He wouldn't write anything. And I began with this, and he had to describe himself. Remember, his name was Michael. And he just loved it. Okay, Michael. And he put down, everything positive. It was interesting though. One of the things he put very negative. I said, that describes you? He goes, yeah, I really don't follow through. And it was one of the letters. It was really, the kids they're pretty honest. Okay, so there's Michael. I used him again. You write the name. If the name is short, you can use their first and second name. You can use their first, second, and their last name. Most of the kids, once I start doing this with them, say, I now want to do my mother. I want to put my mother's name. No, now I want to do my last name. Now I want to do my father. I want to do my brother, my sister. Let them do it because they're writing. This is, remember, the goal is writing. Okay, so we'll say, Michael, M-I-K. So he says, I'm musical, I'm intelligent, I'm cute, I'm humorous. And they have to, so now it's not only writing, it's vocabulary, it's spelling. And so let them do as many as they want. Writing for points. This is one of the best things I came up with over the years. I make one word, usually a noun. And I would say, okay, what did I put in here? You could take anything. And I would give them a word and I would say, okay, boat. Boat. And now again, the level. If you're working with someone who's just learning CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant, and the word is cat. Okay, it can be pin, pen, or let's say they're working now, take one of the words you're using. Now boat would be if you're working with your vowel digraphs. Okay, so boat. They have one word. Then I give them a chart and I say, and write up the chart with them. Let them be part of the rules and always have a goal. And so they'll write the boat is in the water. I go, wow. You have 6 points. And I'll underline something. They go, you didn't spell the one right. Do you want to try? I'm going to give you another 2 points if you spell it right. They get so busy and they usually know how to spell it. That's the part that fascinates me. They come up with the spelling because they want the points. Then you start teaching them, say to them, okay, instead of just boat, you could get even more words. You could get into the 15-word category because we could say the big boat or the little boat or the blue boat. And now you start teaching adjectives and you start teaching adverbs. More advanced, when you read this, you start adding adjectives, adverbs. Then I've had with the kids, actually, I tell them, I'm going to give you 100 points. You'll just win a prize immediately. You give me a paragraph, but you have to have at least 4 sentences. Each sentence, and we write out all the directions, and they go, I can do that. I'll get 100 points. And they do it. And they start writing. They actually start writing. It's really amazing. The group size doesn't matter. It all depends. I don't know what you know. If you're 1-to-1, if you're working with 5 kids, if you're working with a class, you can put them in groups and they can start working together to come up with things. It's a really fun game, and they love it and they learn. They absolutely learn. This one, pass the paper, page 42 in your books. Okay, pass the paper. I actually did this over a summer. I used to do this just 1-to-1 when I was working with one child. You can do this in groups. And I always use different pens. You come up with a title. And then you say, okay, when I say go, you point to one student, you start, you'll have 1 minute to start the story. And then you go, oh, minute's up, stop. If they're in the middle of a sentence, they have to stop. Pens down, it goes to the next child. So now you don't know where the story's going to end up. It's almost like playing telephone, like we used to do years ago, where you whisper something, by the time it gets through the 20 kids, it comes out totally different. Pass the paper. I started doing this with kids to get them to write. And I tell them, use different color pens, do whatever you want to do so you know which part was yours. I did this over the summer with a group of kids, and they all had different vacations, and nobody, it was unbelievable just to get them together. But each time they were with me, whoever was there, while the others were playing games, they worked on the story. And then these kids at the beginning would say, I don't want to begin, I don't want to start it, I don't want to write. By the end of the summer, they wanted to finish the story. Each one was fighting who was going to finish the story. And it was, I'd say, well, you have a minute. They go, no, I need 5 minutes. Can I get more time? I need more time. And they are these reluctant writers. It's a really fun game, but you have to begin 3rd grade and up. You can do this 5th, 6th, 7th. It works. We actually ended up with a book. I published it with that summer group, and we met in the library, and each one was awarded with the book that they wrote. The newspaper came over and took pictures of them. And these were kids, did not know each other at the beginning of the summer. They were 6th, 7th graders, all severe dyslexia, dysgraphia. And they were fighting who was going to finish the story. They were fighting, they needed more time. They were bringing in illustrations for the book. It was called Under the Sea. And it was a brilliant little story about saving the oceans from pollution. It was an amazing thing that they came up with. Okay, next, page 43, the shh game. Nobody can talk, and you all come up with a certain amount of time, and they can't talk, but they can only talk to each other by passing notes. I mean, we always say, no, you just passed a note. Now you're in trouble. You're not allowed to pass. No, you spend the time passing notes. And these are all the directions what to do. And and anyone who talks is out. It's who can stay the quietest, and they have to just pass notes. Let's go on to number 5, parts of speech. This one, I have a game also that we have in our company that you can download, but you learn parts of speech. You can make it yourself. Again, use the card sample at the beginning, the little grid that we gave you, and we give you all the directions what to do. These are the boards. It's already done. If you can actually download it also. By the end of a session, it's wild because I usually make up 12 cards, and I don't do just noun. I do common noun, proper noun, pronoun. For the verbs, present tense, future tense, past tense, adjectives, adverbs, interjections, all these words, you put them, the blank family, and what you fill in there would be the common noun family, the pronoun family, preposition family. And each child gets a different board. And then you call out the word. Like if you look at page 44, I'd be holding the card deck. Girl. Who gets girl? Is that a proper noun? Is it a verb? Is it a pronoun? Is it a common noun? They learn it so quickly. Because I have it where I have Hudson River, I have Atlantic Ocean, Main Street, and I'll be holding it up, and I'll have the name Sally, and they go, wait, that's a name, capital. That's a proper noun, and then they'll yell whose board that is. It's really interesting. I've been doing this, my God, over 40 years, all these games. It's taken me a long time putting all this stuff that I've come up with. They learn. And it's fascinating. And I think it's simply that they're not stressed, there's no pressure, and they're thinking, and they're focused. That's that. Rhyming poems. Remember I talked about reading them? They love to write them. The first thing we did was the acrostics. Here's another. Now, these are 3 different ways you can do this in teaching it to the class. That while wearing a wig, I ate a fig. Okay, the couplets. But remember, roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. They love doing those. I don't even know what it's called. Somebody there must know that has a name. But these are just samples, and there's 3 different samples you can use. Haiku poems. I start haiku with them in first, second grade, the minute they can start to write, because they're starting to learn syllables. A haiku poem is only 3 lines. And if the first line has 5 syllables, second line has 7, third line 5. That's it. And you come up usually with a theme about nature. So here I did one for an example: spring flowers, flowers blossoming. And they're all sitting going, and everyone's sitting with doing the syllables. Roses, tulips, blue pansies. There's my 7. And then usually you're doing it, and you go, oh, that's 8 syllables. No, I got to leave a word out. They're so involved, and they're writing without thinking about it. Okay, haiku poems are just fun, unbelievable way to get kids to start to write. As I said, usually you use something with nature: snow, rain, an animal, whatever. Okay, next, they're called diamante poems. Diamant, I'm not even trying to say it. These are really good, and you can begin simple, but always begin around 3rd grade. They're a little too young before. Come up with a topic, usually a noun, summer. Then you have 2, because it ends up looking like a diamond. Hot, humid. Then the 3rd line, you have to put in 3 words. And now here I said put 3 action verbs using ing, but you don't have to. You could just say, just make some describing summer. You don't have to use all these. These are just, I put in just in case you want to use these rules. Or just put in autumn, put in any topic you want. Okay, my neighborhood, but it can't be my neighborhood. You have, because the first word has to be only 1 word. First line, second line 2, then 3, then 4. Go back to 3, then 2, then you end up with the same title. It's a really hard way of doing this, that you begin and then you do opposites. You can say summer, winter on the bottom, and then you have your 4 words. 2 are for the summer, 2 are for the winter, and then you end up switching in the middle. But that's really much more advanced. So follow those things. The kids love doing these things, and it's writing. Also good for reading. All these things for writing, if they're able to write, they're practicing their reading. Stickman, it's really old-fashioned hangman, but my husband and I put all this together. We couldn't use the name hangman, just couldn't do it. And so we called him Stickman. I mean, just like you used to play, we use it a lot with idioms. We have a deck of cards of just idioms. 2nd, 3rd graders love idioms. And then they have their idioms. You can let them have them, and they have to see which one they think it is. Or they can't get the idiom deck yet, and they have to try to figure it out just playing Stickman and see if they can figure it out just from that alone. Let me go to number 10. Guess what I'm thinking of? Again, this is something on creative thinking, and it's going to help with reading. And they're thinking of something made out of, didn't come out, wood. That's the word supposed to be. I'm thinking of something you wear. I'm thinking of a food. But they have to look at 1, 2, 3, 4. They're writing it all down so that they can't afterwards go, oh, I wasn't really thinking that. They'd say, wait a minute, you changed it. They have to write it, because kids will come up with their own rules in the middle of everything, especially if they're losing. And so they have to, and then they have to write 4 or 5 clues down and then read their clues, and all the directions are right here, and you can have teams against each other. Number 11, what would happen if everyone lived in space? Also, this is creative thinking, creative writing, good for writing and reading. Last one, souvenir of your town. Kids love this one. It's a souvenir of their town. And they learn what a souvenir means. It makes them think about the area that they're living in. They start thinking about what the town is like. What is it known for? And again, this is more of a nonfiction type of thing. Good for 3rd to 5th grade and above. Okay, the next thing, page 53, is just about us and about our products. We now got through the level, the engage, the activate, rehearse, and then see if they've improved. If they haven't, change to a different game. Thank you all for coming here. Thank you. Bye-bye.